This is everything you need to know about the Terraria Zenith. The Zenith is commonly agreed to be the strongest weapon in all of Terraria. It is a sword, putting it in the melee class, and it does 190 base damage. The sword is an auto swing weapon, and the best modifier for the sword is legendary. When the Zenith is swung, all of the various sprites of the sword fly out towards the enemies in a 20 tile radius of the cursor. This also means the larger your visible game screen is, the further away your enemies can be when you attack them. This is a phenomenal excuse to get an 8 monitor setup, but sadly, this feature was removed as of 1.4.1, but that is not the end of it, as I will explain how this feature kind of got a pass later within the video. All of the projectiles from the Zenith pass through blocks, and each projectile deals the Zenith's full damage, making for some crazy numbers, such as the Zenith having the potential to reach more than 70,000 damage per second on a single target with the right setup, and against worm bosses passing over 1 million damage per second. So that would be, for example, on the Destroyer, or the Eater of Worlds, or hey, even the Devourer of Gods, if you fancy yourself some modded Terraria. But with the perfect environment, the Zenith can reach up to 7 million damage per second. It has been recorded that the Zenith can defeat the Moonlord on Master Mode in about 11 seconds, and all is great if it wasn't for the 10-step operation crafting tree. The Zenith consists of 10 different base items, which are all various different swords throughout the different stages of the game. So we've got the Terra Blade, Meowmer, Starwrath, Influx Waver, Horseman's Blade, Seedler, Star Fury, Beekeeper, Enchanted Sword, and the beloved Copper Short Sword. In order to craft the Zenith, the raw materials needed would consist of 15 copper ore, an anvil, a Star Fury, either found from fishing or in the sky, an Enchanted Sword found in the shrine or within gold or titanium crates, 120 chlorophyte ore, and a hard mode forge, the defeat of at least one mechanical boss, 12 hallowed bars, the defeat of Plantera for the Seedler, the defeat of Queen Bee for the Beekeeper, the defeat of Pumpkin for the Horseman's Blade, the defeat of the Martian Saucer for the Influx Waver, the defeat of Moonlord at least twice for the Starwrath and the Meowmer, and now get ready for this: 12 Jungle Spores, 12 Stingers, 20 Obsidian, 20 Hellstone, the defeat of Skeletron and Golden Keys for the Muramasa, the defeat of an evil boss for the Lightsbane or the equivalent, and a broken hero sword. So yeah, it's a pretty hefty crafting recipe. The best armor and accessories to go with the Zenith in Terraria would be a full set of Solar Flare armor, a Warrior emblem, the Mechanical Glove, the Fire Gauntlet, the Eye of the Golem, the Destroyer emblem, the Avenger emblem, and the Celestial Shell. The Zenith actually ignores an enemy's invincibility frames, making for some absolutely cheesy boss fights such as the Destroyer that you can absolutely obliterate within literally a second or two. Modifiers for the Zenith that can increase melee speed change the number of swords that appear per use. A single sword sprite may actually damage an enemy multiple times, which can be used specifically on worm bosses, as we spoke about the Destroyer earlier. And I don't really know why you'd be using it on the Eater of Worlds, but you can also do that if you fancy absolutely destroying enemies with your unimaginable godly powers. Now this is one that I didn't even know, but the Zenith is actually semi-homing. So when the sword trails are close enough to an enemy but still not fully reaching it, one of the swords may jump out to hit the enemy aimed at. The Zenith, when dropped on the ground, will always be visible, even in complete darkness. By the way, boyos, if you love Terraria and are looking for brand new unique ways to spice up the experience, I highly recommend joining my mailing list in the description down below. We send weekly articles on the best Terraria mods you should check out, so if that is something you're interested in, I highly recommend you take a look at it, but let's get back into the video. The Zenith closely resembles the rune sword from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, not only in looks but attack style and place within the game's progression. Both are the ultimate weapon in their respective games, and both are massive time investments. The Zenith still seems to have a massive range despite the range lock, which can span multiple monitors. So this is what I was talking about earlier. There were accounts on various different Terraria forums where some players would actually still be able to shoot their Zenith further past 2 monitor setups, which was previously possible but said to be locked. So I guess you guys would have to go try that out and just tell me how it goes. Just drop down in the description of whether you've been able to do that. Now last but not least, once the cursor is released, the swords that were still swinging will follow the cursor whether it is on screen or not. So as soon as you let go of your mouse button, wherever you move your cursor, those swords will still proceed to follow your cursor. After watching this video, you have learned basically everything there is to know about the Zenith. For that reason, I have compiled a short 5-question quiz to see whether you learned well from the video. After the quiz, please drop down your score out of 5 in the comments down below. I'm super excited to see what you guys end up scoring. So the first question would be, how many base swords is the Zenith crafted out of? The correct answer would be 10 different swords. The Terra Blade, Meowmer, Starwrath, Influx Waver, the Horseman's Blade, Seedler, Starfury, Beekeeper, Enchanted Sword, and the Copper Short Sword. Question number 2. How much damage does the base Zenith do? If your answer was 190 base damage, you would be absolutely correct. There were many people arguing on the forums about this, but the consensus was that 190 was the base damage of the Zenith without taking into account any accessories or armor pieces. What is the best reforge for the Zenith? If you said legendary, you would be the most correct. Legendary overall is a phenomenal reforge for almost every single item within the game, so you wouldn't be wrong if legendary was just like a shot in the dark in your guess. You're typically right. For most weapons, legendary is the best reforge anyways. What is the best set of armor for the Zenith? That would be Solar Flare. It is essentially the god of all melee armors. It has the best defense. It has extremely high melee damage buffs. Come on, it's post Moonlord melee armor. You cannot go wrong with it. Final question, does the Zenith take into account the invincibility frames of an enemy? The correct answer is no. As I spoke previously, bosses such as the Destroyer get absolutely wrecked when you have the Zenith in hand, meaning that it would not take account any invincibility frames and just shred through everything that it comes into contact with. This has been everything you need to know about the Zenith. If you enjoy this type of content, drop a like on the video. Consider checking out another video like this on screen. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Plushies down in the description. This has been Boyo. Peace out.